Hi, first grade. Happy Monday. All right, we have a new story this week. This week, we're going to look at a fiction story. Before we do, I want you to see the story. So, our story is Jabari Jumps. And before we start reading, I want us to really activate our schema. And remember, schema is that background knowledge, that information you already have in your brain. So when I look at the cover, I want you to think about the season that this story probably takes place in. I see Jabari and he's on a diving board in swim trunks. So what season do you think this should be? Summer. Good job. So I want you to think and turn and talk about some things that you know about summer. Some of that schema or background knowledge. So Miss Murphy started one, and you don't have to draw this. But I started one and I talked about some of the things I might know about summer. I know in the summer I go swimming. And I obviously thought of that when I saw the cover too. I know in the summer it's hot out. I also know in the summer you're going to wear shorts and t-shirts. You're not going to be wearing coats and winter hats. So I want you to turn and talk with someone and think about some things you already know about the summer. What are some things you already know maybe might happen in the story, or you're just kind of prepared to remember for the story? Today's skill and this week's skill is something a little bit new. We're in May, and guess what that means? It means you are almost second graders. So Mrs. Balish and I know you're going to be able to do these harder skills. So our word today is synthesize. Can you say that with me? Synthesize. And that just means to put it all together. So when we look, we see our brain kind of thinking. And when we read a story, we gather information. We learn a little bit more each page and put things together. So we've made predictions in stories, and sometimes they're not right. But if we stopped and made a prediction in the middle of the story, would it maybe be a better prediction because we knew more about it? Definitely. So your thinking will change throughout the story. And we know that. We've read books and noticed that we might think one thing at the beginning and then change our mind in the middle. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to listen to our story and we're going to think about how our thinking will change at the beginning, while I'm reading in the middle, or at the end, after I'm done reading. What have I decided or come to the conclusion of once I've read the whole story? So before we read, we know we like to look at the cover and we like to kind of think about some different things. So before we read, I want you to look at the cover and think about where Jabari is. So we realized it's summertime, but where do you think he might be? Turn and talk. Where do you think he might be? All right. Next, we're going to look at this quote on the back. It says, working up the courage to take a big leap is hard, but Jabari is nearly almost ready to make a great big splash. What do you think that means? What do you think it means if he's nearly almost ready? I don't know. Notice how Jabari looks very different on the back than on the front. I wonder if things are going to change or not change. Let's start our story, and then we're going to stop and do some thinking. This is your activity for today. So while we're doing this, if you notice something that changes your thinking, go ahead and pause and write it on your assignment, okay? But we're going to think about 3 ways, that our thinking changes in the story. And then at the end, what do we conclude about Jabari? And I'll discuss it at the end of our reading too. But while you're listening, try to listen for 3 things because that's going to help you when you're doing your work, okay? So let's listen to our story today. Jabari Jumps by Gia Cornwell. Jabari Jumps. I'm jumping off the diving board today, Jabari told his dad. Really? His dad said. I notice how Jabari is feeling about it. How is he feeling? Excited, happy, nervous? What can you tell just from the illustration? Does Jabari seem ready to jump off the diving board? What do you think? Let's see. The diving board was high and maybe a little scary, but Jabari had finished his swimming lessons and passed his swim test, and now he was ready to jump. I'm a great jumper, said Jabari, so I'm not scared at all. Do you think Jabari is ready? Turn and talk. How can you tell if Jabari is ready or not? What are your thoughts? So this might be when we stop and think about, at first I was thinking. What might you be thinking right now about Jabari and how he's feeling or if he's ready? Just turn and talk about what you think right now. And we're going to see if that changes when we stop next. But I want you to think. So if I were thinking out loud, I might say, at first I was thinking, and I might write. And this isn't going to be exactly what you do for your assignment. So we'll do this together and then we'll talk about our assignment. But at first I was thinking that Jabari is ready. I know he's done with his swim lessons. I know that he feels confident and he's excited. He knows it's scary, but he's okay with that because he's ready to conquer it. Now, let's see if that changes when we're reading, okay? Jabari watched the other kids climb the long ladder. They walked all the way out to the end of the board, as big as tiny bugs. Then they stood on the edge. They spread their arms and bent their knees and sprang up, 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 and then dove down, down, down. Splash! Looks easy, Jabari said. But when his dad squeezed his hand, Jabari squeezed back. I want you to make an inference here, and I want you to think about your understanding. If Jabari's dad squeezed his hand and Jabari squeezed back, how do you think Jabari might be feeling? Think about if you squeeze your mom or dad's hand. How might he be feeling now? Let's see. Jabari stood at the bottom of the ladder. He looked up. You can go before me if you want, he told the kid behind him. I need to think about what kind of special jump I'm going to do. Jabari thought and thought. I'm noticing a change. Are you noticing a change? Did Jabari's feelings change from the beginning to right now? How do you think Jabari is feeling right now at the bottom of the ladder as he's looking up and he's letting all the people go ahead of him as he thinks about it? What do you think? How does he feel? Jabari started to climb up and up. This ladder is very tall, he thought. Are you okay? Called his dad. I'm just a little tired, said Jabari. Maybe you should climb down and take a tiny rest, said his dad. A tiny rest sounded like a good idea. When he got to the bottom, Jabari remembered something. I forgot to do my stretches, he said to his dad. Stretching is very important, said his dad. I think tomorrow might be a better day for jumping, Jabari said. They looked up at the diving board together. I want you to turn and talk again. I think our thinking has changed a little bit as we've gotten closer to the middle of the story. Can you turn and talk with someone and discuss what you think now? Do we think Jabari is still ready? What do you think? How has your thinking changed now? And also think about what's happened in the story. Have you made a connection with Jabari? Or has there been an illustration that you've noticed? What kind of changed our thinking? If Miss Murphy, again, were thinking about it, and this could be one that you thought of too, I might say that while I was reading, I started to think that Jabari may need more time. I think maybe he's not quite ready. Maybe he's a little too nervous and needs a little more time to get used to it. But again, could my thinking change? Could something happen? Definitely. So let's keep reading and see. It's okay to feel a little scared, said his dad. Sometimes if I feel a little scared, I take a deep breath and tell myself I am ready. And you know what? Sometimes it stops feeling scary and it feels a little like a surprise. Jabari loved surprises. Can you connect with Jabari? Have you ever felt scared and mom or dad has helped you think of a way to calm down? Turn and talk about a time that you have maybe felt a little bit scared. Jabari took a deep breath and felt his body from the ends and felt it fill his body from the ends of his hair right down to the tips of his toes. Jabari looked up. He began to climb. Up and up and up and up until he got to the top. Jabari stood up straight and he walked all the way to the end of the board. All right. Think about what you notice. Is there a picture that you notice? What do you infer? How is he feeling from the pictures and words? How do you think Jabari is feeling? And I want you to turn and talk. Can you make a prediction? Do you think Jabari will jump this time? And why do you think yes or no? What do you think? Will he do it? His toes curled around the rough edge. I love that perspective so we can see, his toes right at the end of the diving board. And if I look down, I might make that connection of how I might be feeling. So think about those connections. Jabari looked out as far as he could see. He felt like he was ready. I love surprises, he whispered. He took a deep breath and spread his arms and bent his knees. And then he sprang up off the board, flying. I noticed that Jabari has a smile on his face. I noticed that his feelings are definitely changing now. Jabari hit the water with a splash. Down, down, down he went. And then back up. Jabari, you did it, said Dad. I did it, said Jabari. I'm a great jumper. And you know what? What? Said his dad. Sorry, Ben. Surprise! Double backflip is next. So now we finish the story and we have one last part to our questioning. It says, after reading, I think. So what could we think about Jabari and what he did? And how has our thinking changed? We think he's ready. Then we thought maybe he needs a little bit more time. And now at the end of this story, what do you think? I might think about using our vocabulary word today. So if I'm thinking about using our vocabulary word today, I might say that Jabari was brave and conquered his fears. Sorry, you can't really see it as well because I don't have as much room as our whiteboard in the classroom. But notice that now I'm realizing that Jabari was pretty brave. He was really nervous. It was really high, but he made a choice to take a deep breath and think about it. So now your job today is going to be similar. You're going to talk about how your feelings change, but a little bit differently. I want you to think about 3 parts in the story. Remember, I told you to think about those 3 parts. And I want you to write 3 times in the story that your thinking may have changed. And maybe it's making a connection. I connected with Jabari and realized I get nervous sometimes too. So maybe he had to take a little more time, or I connect because my mom or dad helps me too. So think about a connection or a picture in the story that helps you figure out a little bit more about Jabari. And then at the end, we have a light bulb. Now, you don't have to have a light bulb. You can write your 3 parts on one side and then just put a little arrow towards what you think at the very end. What do we realize about Jabari? We realize, like we said, that he's brave. But what else might you think about Jabari? I want you to write your final thinking in one last sentence. So for reading today, you should have 4 sentences. You should tell me 3 things you notice in the story and then your final thoughts about Jabari, okay? I know that you have it in you. You guys are doing an amazing job. Keep it up. Have a great day. And I will see you on Wednesday to do the next part of our reading, okay?